Okay, let's go ahead and do part two. All right, part one, we discussed how these angles form a 90-degree angle. So angle FDG, which is right there in red, is going to have a measure of 47 degrees. Okay, let's look at, we'll do a couple more. I don't know if we'll do them all, but we'll do a couple more at least. All right, so if the measure of angle ABF, which is right here, this is ABF right here, we're going to say that that is 70 degrees. And then I'm looking for the measure of angle FBC, which is right here, and I'm going to call that Y. Remember, for any unknowns, you can call whatever variable you like. It's entirely up to you. Now, this case, because they form a straight line, we know that they're supplementary. So I got Y plus 70 equals 180. So Y equals 180 minus 70, which means that Y equals 110 degrees, which means that this angle has a measure of 110 degrees. All right. So, all right. The second one, this one right here is just like the one we did in red. So I'm just going to go ahead and give you the numbers. Remember, these two angles are complementary. So the measure of angle EDG will be 55 degrees. All right. And then this one right here, BFC right here, that's this angle right there. We'll label it right there in green. It has a measure of 40 degrees. And then the measure of angle CFG, which down here, we don't know it. So we'll call it Z. Call it Z. And then it's going to ask you for the measure of DFG, which we'll talk about that as well. So this angle right here, because they form a line right there, that means they're supplementary. So that means that Z plus 40 equals 180. So that means when we subtract, we get Z equals 140 degrees. You get that by subtracting 180 minus 40. All right. Now, the other angle right here is angle DFG. That's this right here. Well, here's the thing. You got to look at this relationship. That angle and that angle. These angles are vertical. So this angle I'm going to circle, and this angle here I'm going to circle. Those two are vertical. Since they're vertical, that means they're equal in measure. That means it is 40 degrees. So this angle right there and that angle right there, they're vertical, so therefore it's 140 degrees. All right. That's a prime example of what you're going to be seeing on your homework quiz, as well as your chapter quiz and maybe even your chapter test. All right. Now, let's review a little bit. Complementary angles means that their sum adds up to 90. Supplementary angles means their sum adds up to 180. In order for angles to be a linear pair, they must be both supplementary and adjacent. Adjacent, of course, means next to, meaning they share a common side and a common angle. Perpendicular means that they form four right angles. All right, let's do this one, and then we will be one step closer. All right, now I want you to look at these two angles right here. This angle is 88, and this angle is x plus 27. Those two angles are vertical. They're vertical, which means they're equal. So that means that x plus 27 equals 88. Well, when you do subtract 27, you get x equals 61. All right. Now, the next one, I'm going to circle those two because I need those two right there. I have 6y minus 2 and 88. They're not vertical, but they are supplementary. So these are supplementary. So that means that 6y minus 2 plus 88 equals 180 degrees. So when I combine -2 and 88, that's 6y plus 86 equals 180. I subtract 86. So 6y equals 94. Then divide by 6. And you'll end up with 15 and 2/3 for a value of y. So y equals 15 and 2/3. It's kind of funky, but it's one of those things you just learn to have to accept it. Sometimes the numbers don't always work out evenly. And I always like to say in the classroom, you're young, you'll bounce back eventually. So, all right. But that's how it works. Okay. So these two highlighted in yellow are vertical, meaning they're equal. And the two that are circled in blue are supplementary because they form a linear pair. So they add up to 180. All right. Linear pair postulate says if two angles form a linear pair, then they are supplementary. And the diagram is right here. I suppose that's a note to myself to insert diagram with the snipping tool. I forgot to take that out, so oops. And then the example is if two angles form a linear pair, then they are supplementary. All right, so I have this angle right here. Angle ABD is 2x, and it says, and the measured angle in this actually should be CBD is equal to 4x. So this is 4x. That's what it should say. But we know that 2x plus 4x equals 180 degrees. So 6x equals 180. So x equals 30. And then I just plug in, so 2 times 30 equals 60, and 4 times 30 equals 120. Now I could reverse this. It says CBD, but I can also change it around to DBC. Remember, as long as B is the vertex point, it's in the middle, you're good to go. All right. Let's do one more together. Let's do one more. Let's do this one. All right. Now, it's the angle bisector. That's one topic we haven't discussed yet, but an angle bisector is a ray that divides the angle into two congruent angles. So, ray that divides an angle into two congruent angles. So this right here is the angle bisector. That means whatever this measure is going to be the same. So let me throw some numbers here. This is angle. Here's all the data. If KM bisects angle JKL, so this is J, that has to be K, and that has to be L. You have to read the problem carefully because sometimes you'll be asked to put the data in there by yourself. All right, and it says if KM, that means that this has to be M. So that's M right there. And this is all from the data. It's how you read it. So Km, that means that K is the vertex point and M is the other point on the ray. JKL. We knew that because K right there is the vertex point. And we know that because it's in the center. So angle JKL has a measure of 72. So this whole angle right here has a measure of 72 degrees. Did it ask you what the measure of this part is? Well, this part here is going to be half that. So it's going to be 72 over 2, which, as you know by now, is 36 degrees. Well, if this is 36 degrees, this will also be 36 degrees because it's an angle bisector. An angle bisector divides it in half. All right. Let me remind you, if you have any questions, make sure you email me or contact me somehow, either in class or outside of class through email, and I'll try to get back to you at my earliest convenience. You need to work on homework quiz 1.5. That will be due on Friday, and then start preparing for your first chapter quiz. Your first chapter quiz will be sometime next week. I will post the quiz review on Canvas. I will also post a video of how to solve the problems on Canvas as well, so you'll have access to that. But you must know it, and it will be sometime next week. In the meantime, get to work.